Going live now.
All right.
And we're live, I believe. Hello, welcome to Off the Cuff. This is a show. My name is Ben Campbell. I completely fucked this up. Hello, welcome to Off the Cuff. My name is Ben Campbell. I'm a social coach. I help men with social matters, dating matters, things like that. I can help with productivity a little bit as well. The format of this show is the viewers submit questions, or they sometimes call in, and I answer them in this live format. It's off the cuff because everything's unscripted. I'm completely unprepared. I'm just sitting here in my bathrobe smoking. I am joined by my friend and former client, Anton Toya. You want to say hello?
Hello, guys.
How's it going? I just want to say, Anton, you said you weren't going to join this week because you had a date. What happened?
I know. Well, basically, my date was gonna come to Bangkok and see me because she was in Cambodia, but the flights were super expensive all of a sudden, and it was better for her to leave from Cambodia. So that's why we didn't meet up.
Okay, that's a reasonable excuse for missing your date then. Yeah, my flight was my date was flying to a foreign country and she had to fly from a different airport. That's reasonable. I'm gonna pull up some questions from the server unless you have any you want to start with.
Yeah, actually I do. I wrote down a few, some of which I already know the answer of, but they seem very interesting for the general public, I assume. Okay, so the first one is, what are some ways to build true inner confidence? Because I often see many people who, like, on the exterior they look confident, but then when I speak to them and I ask them, okay, are you like actually confident as well? And most of them go, nah, it's just a facade that I pull up.
Yeah, okay. I think that confidence is something that, and I think we've talked about this on the stream before, but there will invariably be things that get repeated over time. I think that confidence is something that is situational and subjective. So if you're confident in one certain area, say you're confident, say you have like a sales job or whatever, and you're very confident in your sales job, that might not translate to your social life. That might not translate to the people you're dating. Like I've met people that are, they speak on stage and yet going and talking to a girl is like this terrifying thing for them. And so confidence seems to only be in the specific area that you have it. And there's a caveat to that, which I'll get into in a minute. But I think there's two real ways to create confidence, and one of them is, or maybe three. One of them is just blind confidence. Like we've all met people that just trust that everything's going to work out completely in their life, and for some reason it does, and it's often quite annoying because you look at these people and you're like, why the fuck is everything just working for them, you know? And it's because they have this mentality that everything just, or either they're very overconfident in everything that they do because they believe in themselves, or they're just too stupid to think about the consequences of their actions, and so they just do stuff, and generally it works out because they have that confidence. That's an interesting point, is that I think quite often the way that you believe your actions are going to the results that you believe your actions are going to bring are usually what they actually bring. And so there's blind confidence, and then I think there's faithful confidence. And so even if you don't have the experience in a certain area because I think one of the elements of confidence is competence. So if you trust yourself and you trust your ability to create a certain outcome, you're going to be very confident. Like I'm confident in dating because I know that I can go out and talk to people and get girls and have no problem. I'm confident in my social life because I know that I can handle myself in social situations, that I can go and talk to people, and I've had enough experience to tell me that I'm like a well put together, valuable person to other people, and that I can create good social situations. So I have confidence because I have competence, and I trust in my own ability. And the best kind of confidence is that competent confidence. You build up that trust in yourself over time that you're capable of achieving the results that you want. So going back to the public speaker, he might have a lot of confidence in himself and a lot of competence on stage, but he's never had the experience of going and talking to women or going and making friends, and so he lacks confidence in that area. And sometimes it can be translated because you can bring in an element of faith, and you can say to yourself, well, look, I know that I can develop, I know that I've developed confidence in this area over time, and that it has taken me a while to do that. And I know the process for building confidence. And so I know that I can translate it to this other place. Or you can find coaches and people like myself that say, these are the results that you're going to get if you take this action. And you can use that and internalize that and say, okay, well, I don't have the experience myself, but I trust this person's experience, and that can give you confidence as well. So I think that confidence, if you boil it down, is a trust in the outcome, either in your own ability to create a favorable outcome, or in the chance of a favorable outcome itself. Like it's the level to which you think you can handle yourself, or you think that things are going to go well for you. And going back to your question, you talked about, I think, fake confidence and people that put on this facade. And there's a lot of advice surrounding like fake it till you make it, especially in the self-improvement world and especially in the dating world. There's a lot of people giving advice on how to act as if and how to pretend that you are a certain way. And the problem with that, and my scar's gone out. The problem with that is that like fake it till you make it works, right? There are certain things that you can do. You can stand in power poses and you can repeat things to yourself over time. And if you act as if you are that way for long enough, you do eventually become it. But you also have to be fixing the internal shit. If you're just telling yourself that you're confident all the time, you're going out and acting with confidence, but you're never addressing the things inside you that are keeping you from true confidence. Like, so in social situations, you might be acting confident, but internally you feel that you're maybe not worthy of attention and respect, or you've had bad experiences in the past. You don't know how to be vulnerable with people. You don't know how to actually be open with people. What ends up happening, instead of you becoming confident, you end up just creating a mask for yourself that is fake confidence. And so you're acting in a certain way, even though it's not in alignment with your internal state. What happens when you do that is people pick up on it. Most people are not stupid, and most people are good at picking up on little subtle things. Even if they don't know why you're behaving the way that you're behaving, if they can sense that the way that you're behaving externally is not in alignment with your internal state, something's going to feel off. They're going to they might not know why, or they might not even consciously realize, but alarm bells are firing subconsciously for them because we're not trained, but we're evolved to pick up on these things and to sense out danger. So it might come across as danger. It might come across as creepiness. And so the things that I teach people and my whole methodology as a social coach is to, rather than pretending to be confident, just be completely honest and authentic in where you are and who you are. And yes, develop confidence over time and develop these and work on yourself to the point where you are a competent, capable, worthy person, and so you can go out and get attention and affection and respect from people. Like it's important to work on yourself so that you can do these things. But until you reach that point, don't fake it, because all it does is put people off. Losing my train of thought. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. But when you were explaining, I think I misformed the question, and I want to like give it a redirection.
Okay.
I'm leaning more towards self-love because I think many people don't have this as well. So yeah, confidence is one thing, but what would you say is the difference between self-love and confidence? And then how can you develop self-love?
Yeah. So I would say, if I had to define these things, confidence is your level of competence, your level of trust in yourself, the level of trust in the outcome of what you're doing. Self-love and self-worth, they're basically the same thing, is your own determined estimation of yourself. It's the level to which you think you are worthy or valuable or deserving of the things that you want in life. And that varies person to person. And most people, I would say, have a very low sense of self-worth. And a lot of young men specifically, if they've had bad experiences in dating, they end up with a very low sense of self-worth. And so they want certain, and this is also plays back into the fake confidence thing. If you don't believe that you are worthy of something, then you're gonna turn to manipulation, and you're gonna change your tactics, because you don't believe that you can just go out and get what you want. So you change your internal state and you start putting on that mask in order to pretend like you're like, okay, well, I don't deserve it, but I can pretend like I do, and then maybe I'll get that result. And the way that you develop self-worth and the way that you develop self-love, I suppose I'll separate the two. Your self-worth is a completely arbitrary thing. It's made up. You determine it, and whatever you believe that you deserve, other people are generally going to reflect that. So if you walk around with a level of confidence and with a level of self-worth that's like, I deserve this from life, you're going to behave in a way that makes it true. So like if I go into a social situation, I'm reserved and tight and nervous and I don't believe like I should be around these people, they're going to pick up on it, and that's the feedback that I'm going to get. They're going to believe that. And we had a question last stream where I ranted for quite a while at this guy about his victim mentality, and it ties in. Whatever you believe about yourself is how the world is going to treat you. It doesn't matter what your actual situation is. It matters how you feel about it, and how happy you are with your place in life. And so if you want to raise your self-worth, if you don't have anything in your life that is feeding back into it, you need to create some of those things. And I always consider self-worth as like a set of pillars. It's a platform which is sat upon pillars. And if you have just one pillar, be it your social life or your work life or whatever else, that can be heavily problematic. And I think part of what creates like workaholics, for example, is that their entire self-worth is dependent on their economic output and their ability at work. And so they become workaholics because that's the only thing that they have in their life that's feeding. And there are other reasons that people become workaholics, but I think this is one of them. It's the only thing that is feeding back into their self-worth, and so they pour all of their energy into that at the detriment of other areas of their life. Simultaneously, and at the same time, similarly, I should say, there's people like pickup artists that their entire self-worth is based upon the dating and the women around them, probably because they're internally hurt and they're seeking to fill a hole within themselves, and so they start seeking sex all the time. They start seeking women all the time because it's the only area of their life that actually fulfills them and gives them a sense of self-worth. And that also becomes a problem. It becomes an addiction and ends up taking over everything. And so I think to build a really stable, healthy sense of self-worth and self-value, you need to build it on different areas. So fix your social life and go out and find people that are respecting of you and compatible with you and people that give you feedback that you are worth something, and then get your work life together and start doing, like, just find a problem and fix it. Do something that brings value to other people. Even if you're just fucking weaving baskets, it doesn't matter. Just do something that gives you feedback in that area that your contribution to society is meaningful. And then build your discipline up. Like, discipline is a muscle, so start going to the gym and start meditating in the morning or doing whatever it is that makes you someone that sticks to your word, and so that you feel disciplined, and build up a bunch of different areas that feed back into your self-worth so that you can wake up in the morning, you can look at yourself in the mirror and go, yeah, I am worth something. Because if you can't say that to yourself, no one else is going to say it for you. The world does not determine your worth. You do. And you do by determining your actions. So you go out and you do things that bring you a sense of self-worth. And the feedback that you get and the estimation that you have of yourself needs to be high. Otherwise, you're going to feel bad about yourself. So anyone that's out there and they're going, oh, well, I have a low sense of self-worth and I don't feel like I'm valuable and I don't feel like I'm lovable. Sometimes it is a result of trauma, and sometimes things have happened to you that are out with your control, and that's created a mental program that's feeding back into it in a negative way. And if that's the case, then seek therapy and seek coaching and do things to change that. But if you're just someone that's sitting there and you've never really done anything with your life and you're going, oh, my self-worth is low, no fucking wonder. Go and do things that bring you a sense of self-worth. So we talked about confidence, we talked about self-worth, and then we can talk about self-love as well. Because I feel like a lot of people get into relationships and they seek other people in order to fill an internal part of themselves that wants to be loved. And this leads to unhealthy relationships, and it leads to things like codependency and things like that. And the way, one of the tools that I have used in the past to get around that, because I used to be a very lonely guy. I used to sit there and say that and think that I'm unlovable and wonder how I could get the things that I wanted from my life. And the conclusion that I came to eventually is that the feeling that I want from other people, that feeling of love, and I think there's two aspects to it. There's the giving part and the receiving part. So I wanted someone around in my life that I could give love to, and that I could express the affection and express the emotion that I want to express. But I also wanted someone giving that to me. And what I realized was, until I reached a point where I could give that to myself, no one else was going to do it. It's the same thing as I was saying earlier about the self-worth, and the level that you determine you're at is the level that other people will reflect. And it's the same with self-love. If you don't love yourself, people will love you, but you'll be incapable of properly feeling it. And so, and it might sound a little sad, or it might sound healthy, or it might sound whatever to people, but I used to sit when I was a teenager, I realized that I could give this feeling to myself. And so I'd literally sit in bed at night, and when I'm imagining like I wanted someone by my side or whatever, I would take that feeling that I wanted to give and I would give it to myself. And so I was simultaneously giving and feeling that feeling internally, and it healed a lot of the shit that was going on. Because I'm like, you do need other people. Everybody needs other people. But I could rate, like, I was just telling myself that I love myself and like wrapping my arm and holding myself and being like, it's this makes sense? Like I was giving myself that feeling, and it was a beautiful, healing, cathartic thing that helped me get over a lot of my own internal trauma and emotional issues. Because I was never allowing myself to feel like I deserved that because I wasn't getting it from other people. And when I started giving it to myself, my whole character started changing, and then I started feeling like I deserved it from other people because I'd had that experience. Does that make sense?
It does, it does. And I remember in Sofia, you gave me this exercise to write down on a paper what I would like to hear from others, but I don't hear, and then go to the mirror and say to myself. And it's in the beginning super strange, but the more I do it, the more natural it feels. Like it's a beautiful exercise.
Yeah,
and you can actually tell yourself what you want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I honestly
exactly
believe if you can't go and look at yourself in the mirror and look yourself right in the eye and say, I love you, and genuinely mean it, if that feels weird, if that feels strange, if something feels off about that, you have some internal shit that you need to work on. If you can't look at yourself in the mirror and go, I love you, and sincerely mean it and not feel strange about it, there's not something wrong with doing that. There's something wrong with you. Because you should love yourself. Who else is good? You know, if you don't love yourself, who's going to love you? You know? If you don't feel like you're deserving of love and you can't say it to yourself, you're never going to accept it from other people.
Yeah.
And I think
like
there are so many people that exist in that state. I really do.
Yeah. Even me back in the days, like when I was before 2024, I was like this all the time. When I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, he's not a great person. And now, like when I'm in the shopping mall, I'm buying some clothes. I look at myself and I'm seeing an amazing guy, and it's so much fun, like to carry yourself that way.
Absolutely, it changes.
It reflects on all the people around you.
It changes your whole reality, and it means when things are going bad in your life as well, you have like an emotional root to fall back on, where you're like, no, everything's okay because I'm okay. And there is like a cyclical nature to this as well. So it's like a chicken and an egg thing. We're talking about the self-worth and the self-love. Like the things that you say to yourself determine your identity, and your identity determines the things that you feel that you're capable of and the actions that you take in your life, which determines your result, which again feeds back into your sense of self-worth and self-love and self-estimation. It's like I'm sure, like you I know you have this goal to be the kickboxing champion of Belgium, etc. And you're out in Thailand at the moment. You're going through this journey. If you were still that person that believed that you weren't good enough, would you have bothered to even try?
Probably not.
And that in turn, it's like you believe that you're capable, and so you see, right? So you believe that you're capable, and so you start to go and do the things, and then that again. Like I'm sure you're out there, and I'm sure your sense of self-worth and your capability has increased dramatically since you went out there, which is again feeding back in. And so it's the thing we were talking about last week. It's the vortex. You get into this sense of momentum in your life, and everything boils down to the way that you think and the identity that you have about yourself. Everything. The results that you get in life are a direct reflection of your internal state. And so whatever you believe about yourself and your relationship to the world is going to determine the results that you get. Maybe not in the immediate term, because things happen that are out with your control, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, the things that you get in life are the things that you feel you deserve. And you can look at any successful person and examine their mindset, and you'll see that that's the case. Even people that like maybe have a low sense of self-worth and things like that, if they have certain mindsets around money or certain mindsets around success, like you don't need to be happy to be rich. You just need to fundamentally believe that you are a rich person, you know? And you don't need to be happy to get women, clearly, because pickup artists do just fine. But that's because they believe in what they're doing. They're like, this is what gets the results. Their entire worldview is centered around, I'm going to pretend to be someone else. And I'm putting a video out on Wednesday about this. It's like the results that it gets are really unhealthy and not great, but it does get results. Because everything you do all of life is choices and consequences, and your choices are dictated by your identity.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is there's a direct correlation between self-worth and confidence.
Yeah, well, yeah. Not necessarily. I think confidence is situational. You can have overall confidence, I suppose, and I mean, it's all semantics at the end of the day. You call it what you want, but I would define it as confidence is your faith in your ability to get a certain result, whether if it's confidence in yourself, or confidence that a situation will turn out in the way that you expect it to. Basically, that's confidence. And then self-worth is how much you feel you deserve that thing.
Okay, that's a clear answer. And then also, like, since we're talking about self-worth, I think people with good self-worth have a clear purpose in their life. And in a way, I think I found my, for the moment, it's gonna change in a few years for sure. But how would you advise people, or how would you make people see their purpose?
I think about that a lot, actually, because I've had people come into the server and they're like, well, I'm 15, I don't really know what I'm doing with my life. Like, I think, first of all, I want to make it clear that I think this idea, and I don't know what it's like in Belgium, but in the UK, and I believe in the US, they kind of expect you to know what you want from your entire life when you're 12. It's like you turn like 12, 13, 14, and you got to start picking your classes in school, and then your classes dictate the grades that you get, and then the grades dictate which colleges you can get into. And so you're basically asked to determine, like, what do I want to study and then what do I want to become when you're a child, which I think is insane. I think it's perfectly fine to go through most of your, like, there are plenty of successful people that didn't become successful in their field until they were like 40, 50, 60. And I think that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I honestly believe that we put far too much pressure on ourselves to find a sense of purpose. And that's easy for me to say because I've known my fucking purpose since I was like 14. I've not always adhered to that path, but I've had a very strong sense of what I should be doing with my life since I got into self-improvement, since I started along this journey. So it's very easy for me to say from this position of comfort because I know what that is. But I have also had periods in my life, even though I knew that, I kind of forgot it. I've had periods in my life where it's like, oh, I'd left school and I didn't really know what I was doing and I was just bumming around, and there were moments of existential dread, and I'm like, am I worth anything? Am I what the fuck am I doing with my life? What is the meaning of all of this? What's my purpose, etc.? And those can be very difficult, challenging questions. But I don't think you have to know what you need to be doing. I think the real value in life is the people that, first of all, the people that are around you, and your estimation of yourself, and how much you are enjoying the time that is passing, right? If you're enjoying your life, and that doesn't necessarily mean like hedonic enjoyment. Like if you're just sitting fucking watching Netflix and beating off and eating Cheetos because those are the things that bring you pleasure. Pleasure and enjoyment aren't necessarily the same thing. It's like life should have some difficulty and it should have some challenge and all of these things. But it's okay to be the person who's searching. It's okay to be the person who doesn't know what you want yet, as long as you are doing things. As long as you're always doing something, it doesn't matter. And I would suggest, and I would posit, that the more that you do, the quicker you will find the thing that you are supposed to be doing. I think everybody has a thing that they are supposed to be doing. Like, it's not necessarily defined by God or whatever, although I personally believe that. But when it comes to purpose, whether you believe it's predetermined or not, the way that you find your purpose is by trying things. And it's perfectly fine to be the person who is searching. So if you're young and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, don't just run down a path because it gives you comfort. And I did that. I went to college for a few, and I ended up quitting after a few months. But I went to college because I'm sitting there like, what am I doing with my life? And so I decided to just do something. And college wasn't it. But I was trying shit, and then I was traveling and I was meeting people and I was figuring stuff out. And so I think it's important to just like learn. If you're young and you don't know what you're doing, and I'm not the best person to give advice on this because, like I say, I found these things, but if I had to give advice, I'd say search for things and try as many things as possible and just explore everything that life has to offer. And at some point, and I really truly believe that at some point, if you do this for a long enough period of time, something is going to come along that you go, aha, and you click into it, right? And like, how did you, like, do you feel like you have a sense of purpose? How did you find it? Do you want to weigh in on this?
Yeah, well, basically when I was like 12, I had to choose a direction as well, which is way too early because I didn't know whatever I wanted to do, but I always loved sports. So I came in that direction. And then at 16, 17 in my school, we had the ability to go teaching with children from like a primary school, which was amazing because people from 16, 17 are not supposed to teach, but they gave us a chance, and I liked it, and I liked sports. So it was like a logical decision to go there. But then later in my life, like now I'm 26, and I love this Muay Thai thing and extreme sports and stuff. So I think it's changing for the moment,
Yeah,
which is totally fine. You know, I
that's
can
another
always go
point
back
I
to the
want to
teaching.
make. Actually, I don't know if purpose. I believe that purpose is a predetermined thing, and as a spiritually minded person, I think you choose something before you even come here. But disregarding all of that and just looking at it from a purely pragmatic perspective, I genuinely believe that whatever choices you make in life are the right choices, always, as long as you believe that they're the right choices. So purpose, like self-worth, is something that is like, unless you don't believe in free will, which again I kind of don't, because I believe that I was put on this path or whatever. But if you don't believe any of that stuff, and looking at it from, I think it's both the same either way. But believing in free will, if you, whatever choice you make, as long as you're happy with that choice, it always turns out to be the right choice. Like, I've made some horrible fucking choices in my life, but where I am now, looking back, I'm like, that was the right choice. That was what I should have done, even if it turned out horribly at the time. And because there's infinite potential in every direction. You can do fucking anything. You could choose. You know, there's if you were a competent person and you have certain skills and abilities, you could choose to do many different things. And it's like, well, maybe I should have become a musician, and maybe I should have settled down with this girl instead of, keeping my options open, or maybe I should have done this, or maybe I should have done that. As long as you're happy with your choices, that's all that really matters. And I think that people become paralyzed by the fear of having done the wrong thing, and they spend more of their time wondering if what they're doing is right rather than deciding that it is, and because at the end of the day, like I say, I think that life is about just doing something that you like. Meaning and value and purpose, I think they're all self-determined. They're things that you decide for yourself. And so if you don't decide, then you're going to spend a lot of your time on the fence about things. You're going to spend a lot of your time wondering and saying, what if? Like, everything you do is a choice all of the time. Like, I'm choosing to move my hand like this instead of like this. I choose to stay in and do this call instead of going out and having a drink with my friends. Maybe I would meet somebody and that would turn into something, or maybe this will turn it. Like, every it's like the butterfly effect. It's the everything has a fucking Fibonacci spiral coming out of the center of it into infinite possibilities in every single direction. And you can either be paralyzed by that and go, everything I do has so many implications all of the time, and how do I know that I'm doing the right thing, and just become paralyzed by FOMO and things like this. Or you can say to yourself that life is this thing of infinite potential, and so I'm going to go and explore lots of it, and accept and decide for myself that whatever I do, that's the right thing to be doing, and have some kind of faith in that you're being guided or whatever. I genuinely think that helps. And just say to yourself that you're going to find something, and you like, this translates to dating as well. It's like there's this mentality of the grass is greener on the other side, and you can apply this to dating, or you can apply it to life, you can apply it to anything that you're doing. The grass is always greener on the other side. You can always compare yourself and think, what if, and what am I doing? But at some point, the grass is greener where you water it. The things that happen in your life, if you're happy with them, then they were right. Because no, it's your life. Nobody else determines it. Your parents don't fucking matter. Your friends don't matter. Nothing else matters as much as if you think that what you're doing is right. And I have this blind, supreme confidence in my coaching career and what I'm doing right now. And there's nothing else really that matters as much in my life. Not even close. If I lost this, I'd lose all my sense of meaning and purpose and everything. But I can think like, it's because this was predetermined, or maybe it's just because I psyoped myself into believing that. Either way, the result is exactly the same. So coming back to your question, wrapping up from this long and probably unnecessary rant that I've gone on, I think that purpose is something that you determine for yourself. And if you're sitting worried about finding one, it's going to make it a lot harder to find than if you just go out and try things and pick something. And I truly believe, like, everybody dies, everything ends, all of life is cyclical, and the only thing that really matters at the end of the day when you're an old man sitting in your rocking chair is that you're happy with the choices that you made. And you're never going to be happy with the choices that you made if you're constantly thinking about what the other choices might have been.
Makes a lot of sense. Especially, like, just try out so many things, and then you'll find it what it is.
It's all arbitrary. It's all arbitrary. Meaning and purpose and all of these things that we like, everything that we find valuable are things that we've attributed value to. It truly everything like there's good, there's bad, there's up, there's down, but all of these things exist in our mind. They're all completely arbitrary things. None of it actually matters at the end of the day. Everything is cyclical. Everything dies at some point. The heat death of the universe will happen. Everything will burn out, and everything you ever knew and loved and cared about will cease to exist. And you can look at that and you can go, oh, well, everything's meaningless, and become a fucking nihilist and just be a boring negative cunt from it. Or you can go, that's amazing, that means that like you can look at that and you can say everything is meaningless, or you can accept that the meaning is internal to yourself, which gives you so much freedom, because you can put meaning on anything you want.
Yeah,
and those
totally.
those are the truly happy people. Like it's all internal. It's all in your head. Life is this collaborative fucking dream that we're all going through together, and it is whatever you make it. If you decide that it's good, it's going to be good. If you decide that it's bad, it's going to be bad. If it's all in your head. Yeah, I think that answers the question. Maybe in a more woo woo way than you perhaps expected, but I don't know.
No, it was very good. The next question I got from one of my friends, and the reason he doesn't want to approach people or like meet new friends is because the beginning of social interactions are for him always very awkward. And what are some ways he could avoid this? He was asking.
I think I mean, there are icebreakers and things like that, and so it's not up to you whether interactions are going to be awkward or not. Because social interactions, if you boil it down, it's you and another person or a group of people or whatever, and what determines the level of awkwardness or especially at start, because it changes, is your level of immediate compatibility and the things that happen, and your own charisma. Like, there's so many factors to worry about that it's better to not think about how can I not make it awkward, as opposed to how can I navigate the awkwardness. Because it's like, and I've had guys come to me and they're like, well, I've been out and I went out on a date with this girl and the conversation was really boring and we weren't really clicking, and things weren't working out, and how do I change that? Like, and they want to be in control of everything all of the time, and they want to determine the outcome of things, and this is what leads people into the pickup mentality and shit like that. They want to determine how things are going to go in the way that they act and the way that they speak and all these things, and you can't do that, because like even if you're the most charismatic, amazing person, you're gonna meet people that just aren't on your level or don't click with you or whatever, and there's going to be some awkwardness there. And sometimes that awkwardness is just like I consider myself to be a very social person. You've seen me approach people, and I remember when we were in Varna and I approached that girl, and I came back and you're like, wow, the level of presence and all. And sometimes it goes like that. Sometimes everything clicks and your eyes lock and you go in this beautiful, smooth, natural thing, and there's like an immediate sense of connection. And sometimes you walk up to people and things are stilted and you're both stuttering and nervous, and both of these are completely fine. The important thing is, if you're in a social situation, if you're looking for friends, you're looking for a girlfriend or whatever, the important thing to glean from all of this is, what is my level of compatibility with this person? How well can I connect with this person? What's the chemistry like? And if it's a little bit awkward at first, that doesn't fucking matter unless you believe it matters, unless you're putting this weight on it that you need to be this smooth guy all the time. But I would strongly argue that all of that is going to do is going to lead you to be inside your own head, which is going to make things more awkward. Like, don't worry about things are awkward sometimes. Things are awkward sometimes. People get angry sometimes. You're going to experience every level of thing in social interactions. You can't make it go perfect and smoothly all the time. So don't bother trying. Just worry about the things that are within your control. To answer the question, is there anything else I should expand on in that?
So, something what I want to ask about this question is, what's the deeper root of this issue? Is it like giving too much importance to what people think of you in a way, or
you mean the deeper root of why he's worried about it?
Yeah,
maybe. I mean, we're social creatures. We want other people to like us. We want to be cared about and valued and respected, and we want people to laugh at our jokes and think that we're attractive and all of these things. And I guess part of it goes back to the thing we were talking about earlier about self-worth and so, like, if you believe that you are valuable and you believe that you're a worthy person, and you've got areas of your life that demonstrate this to you, you're not going to be concerned about any of that, and it doesn't matter how people will respond to you, because you'll have the level of confidence in these situations to believe that the right people are going to come along, right? And so the people that are awkward and the people that are weird and the people that don't click with you, you're not going to see it as a reflection of yourself. You see it, and this goes back to things that I've talked about in the past about rejection. It's like rejection isn't personal. If you go up to some attractive girl and you're like, hey, I think you're really pretty, let's go out for a date sometime, and she says no, fuck off, right? She doesn't know you. She has no idea who you are, anything about you. So that rejection, it's not a personal thing at all. All she's really saying is, I'm not interested. I don't want the same things as you right now, which is a compatibility issue. Unless this is someone that you've known your entire life and they know you as well as you know yourself, there's no possible way that they can reject you on a personal level. So it's all just superficial bullshit anyway. So it doesn't matter. And what determines whether it matters or not to you is how you feel about it. If you're saying it, like if someone rejects you and you're thinking, it's her loss or it's incompatibility or whatever, you just brush it off. It doesn't matter. You don't even think about it. But if that rejection is very personal to you, it means that there's something inside yourself which you have determined to be unworthy. You think that you're unworthy, and so you're taking that rejection as a reflection of that rather than seeing it for what it actually is. And if you want to fix that, one comes experience, because you realize that like you could be the best person in the world, you're still going to get rejected 9 times out of 10, because it's about compatibility and connection, and these things they exist. Or compatibility and chemistry, rather. Connection is something that you can build. But if you don't have compatibility and chemistry off the bat, it's not something that you can really control. And so your job isn't to try and make everybody like you. Your job is just to go out and find people that are already compatible with you and that you can fit together with, like this smooth glove. So yeah, I'd say if you're worried, I think I mean, I'm not saying that this guy has internal issues. If he's saying that, I've had this experience and people are responding awkwardly to me and there's some kind of stiltedness in the beginning of conversations, yeah, don't worry about it. But if you're taking that as a reflection that something is wrong with you, then that's an internal issue that you need to fix, because it's not personal at all. It's just different people have different levels of compatibility, different levels of connection, different levels of chemistry, and you can't control how people are going to respond to you. You can just control how you act and how you present yourself to the world. And that also determines the results that you get. Because say you meet 100 people, right? Or you go and approach 100 different women and you ask them out, you try and go on a date with them. 80 or 90 of them are probably going to go, no, I have a boyfriend, or I'm busy, or I'm not interested, or whatever. And if that was what you took from that experience, that there was 90 of the 100 that rejected you, then you're gonna have you can focus on that and have a bad time, or you can focus on the other 10 that are like, yeah, this sounds great and whatever, and see that it's I don't like calling it a numbers game, but it is a numbers game. It's just your job as a man, if you want to go out and get dates and get friends and stuff, is not to make people like you. It's to find the people that already do and the people that just click and fit. And those people do exist no matter who you are. And we have these social pressures inside ourselves because we're evolved. We're social creatures. We've always needed other people for our survival and for our like even in a modern era. So we don't need other people for our actual survival. Like, we're not going to die without other people. We still have emotional roots and emotional connections to people. We need people in our lives that are affirming us and feeling good about us. And like, we're very social creatures. Without that, we cease to function properly. And so it's one of the most important things, if not the most important thing to us for our emotional health. And so that's why we put so much pressure on it. But you can take that pressure off by expanding your frame, I guess, and seeing the bigger picture of things, and rather than treating every individual situation as something that needs to work for your own internal value, just treating it as a wider thing and accepting that this, and going, this is who I am, this is what I want, I'm going to get comfortable with myself, I'm going to build confidence, I'm going to figure out what I really want from life and want from my relationships and want from other people, and entrust that you are capable of going out and finding that exact thing. Because you are. There's every kind of person in the world, every kind of person, and there's people that are going to like you and people that are not going to like you. And as well, if you try to go through life trying to make everybody like you, what you end up doing is because everything you do creates a filter, and it filters people in and out of your life. So if you're going around going, I'm just going to try and mold myself to other people, you become this like wishy-washy, middle of the road, uninteresting bullshit fucking person that isn't, like, you're not really a person at that point. You're just a reflection of other people, and you'll end up with lots of people around you, but there'll be very middle of the road people that aren't fulfilling. Whereas if you go, this is who I am, this is what I want, and you become like a polarizing person, you'll find that some people love you and some people fucking hate you, and that's great because the people that love you are going to be highly compatible. Like I'm extremely direct in the way that I communicate with people, and sometimes that puts people off. And I've had women and friends and people in the past say to me, "I don't like the way that you talk to me. Like this is too much. You need to be a little bit more tactful and shit like that," and they really fucking hate it. But I've had far more experiences where people go, "I really respect the way that you talk to me. I'm glad that I know where I stand with you." Like all of this stuff. They love the fact that I am direct and honest and upfront. And so if I was to just look at the bad or treat the bad as if it was reality, I wouldn't allow myself to find the good people. Yeah, I think I've said enough on that.
And also like the people who agree with everything and like they try to be liked by everyone, I can spot it from a mile away, and they're so boring because they have almost like no opinion of themselves.
It comes from insecurity. It comes from trying to fit in and avoid danger and be like, oh well, I'm just gonna allow myself to be a fucking sponge for everybody else because they're just afraid of offending people. They're afraid of upsetting people. They're afraid of whatever. You gotta just and honestly, I think shout out to my friend Olaf because I think he said something when I was like 15, 16 that really triggered this in me. Because I was there was something I was scared of doing and I can't remember what it was, but he texted me and he said, "It's your life, man. There's people that are going to disagree with you either way." And I'm like, oh, because that's the thing. Like, even if you do become that wishy-washy person, there's still going to be people that don't like you. Like, you can't control that. It's a compatibility thing. So stop treating it as a reflection of you, and just start accepting that that's just the way that life works, just the way that social situations work.
Yeah, and I think this only comes also if you put some volume in. Like once you realize, like if you only do like a few approaches like in your life, and you got rejected, then you will see this as this big thing. But once you do a lot, you learn how to take it as it's actually nothing personal.
Yeah.
And this is so important. And you taught me this.
If you start,
it isn't anything personal. There could be like a million reasons. You could be having a bad day.
100%.
Or it's mainly compatibility. And even if
you could get rejected because you're wearing the wrong color or you look like someone's ex or whatever. Like it's completely impersonal and meaningless. They don't know you enough to actually reject you. And sometimes it's like you get to know each other for 5 minutes or whatever, and then you get the rejection. That's also fine because again, it's just a compatibility thing. All they're really saying is, I don't want the same things as you, or this. And you should like once you develop enough confidence, you get and faith in your own ability, you get to the point where you start also filtering people. And I think a mistake that a lot of guys make is they're looking for whatever they can get, and not just guys but people in general, but because guys are generally the initiators, they do this more. It's like they're just trying to take what they can get. And so if a girl comes along, even if it's not compatible, they're like, yeah, well, she fucks me and that makes me feel good, and I don't want to be alone, so I'm just going to settle into this relationship. And it's a horrible, terrible idea. And what was it you were just saying? Sorry, because I had another point to make about it.
I don't know, I think I just finished what I said by there could be so many reasons why she rejects you. And even if she wouldn't, you would realize later on why she would say no to you.
That's what I was going to say. Sorry. If you've only put yourself forward, and whether this is relationships or friendships, it's all the same thing. Like the rejection, it's all the same thing. The process is exactly the same. It's just there's a element of romance to it if it's with women. But whether it's friendships or relationships, if you've only put yourself out there 4 or 5 times in your life, which is what most people do, like they really actually try 4 or 5 times, and they get rejected all of those times, they're like, oh, I'm just unworthy and unlovable, and they turn to fucking Tinder and all these things. But if you've done it 100 times or 1,000 times and you get rejected 99% of them, but the results that you get outweigh all of it. Because it's like, well, what would you rather, like if you went out and approached 1,000 women, right, 1,000, and 999 of them were fucking just awful to you, like they treated you like garbage, they looked at you like you're a creep and you're disgusting and you're all of these things, and which is so far, like people are generally friendly and polite, like this never happens really, but just say you get the worst reactions from all of them, and then the last one, that 1,000th, she's like, oh my god, like this is amazing, I love that you're doing this, and then you end up going for a drink with her and you find out that you're really compatible, and now you have this like amazing, beautiful, caring girlfriend that supports you and believes in you and all of these things. Are you going to give a single fuck about the other 999? No, no, because why would you? You have what you want at
Totally
that
not.
point. The rest of it is completely outweighed by the results that you get. And this is part of what I try to teach people, because they come and they're like, oh, I don't believe I can be successful with women. It's like, how many women have you actually tried with in your life? It's like, well, there was this girl in high school that I fancied for 2 years, and then I finally worked up the courage to say hi to her, and she kind of ignored me. And then I got a girlfriend in college, and then she left me because I was just a bum playing fucking Xbox and smoking weed on the couch all day. And so that really tells me that women don't like me. You don't have a big enough set. You've never, first of all, you've never tried, and you've never done the actual work to become. Like, if you're working on yourself and you're becoming a better person, you'll start to attract higher quality people as well. But even ignoring all of that, if you just work on social competence and you just go out and speak to people all day and become like a socially competent person, even if the rest of your life is completely falling apart, you'll still get women that are attracted to you because you have competence in some area. And I've said this probably 3 or 4 times on the stream before. I've had periods in my life where I was living in a tent and washing in a river. I washed in a fucking river. I would go down naked in the morning at like 4 in the morning and the sun comes out because it's summer, and I'm sitting washing in a stream. There are fish going past, and this is how I bathe. And I had a girlfriend, right? And it's because I had friends and people around me, and I was socially competent. And people are like, oh, girls, they only care about money, and they only care about status, and they only care. It's like, no, they just. What they care about is your level of competence and capability. And that can be translated to any area of your... And there's some women that just care about money. And there are some women that just care about how you look. But there's a lot of women that just care about who you are. Are you a capable person? Are you an honest person? Are you a direct, straightforward person? Because she trusts you? That's all you need in a lot of cases. And if you're the kind of person that's like, you see an attractive girl in the street and you go up and say hello to her, and you're like, hey, and even if you're like super fucking nervous and you're like this ball of nervous energy, if you walk up and you go, hey, I understand I'm really nervous right now, but you are one of the most attractive women I've ever seen in my life, and I would be kicking myself all day if I didn't come and say hello to you. You know the level of balls that takes? She's not going to give a fuck that you're nervous and think that's creepy. She's going to be going, wow, look at the steel fucking cojones on this guy that you just rolled over on to express interest in me. What a massive fucking compliment. And if you do that enough, yeah, you'll develop confidence or whatever, but you'll meet people that really appreciate you for who you are, because no one does this properly. All the people that are out there approaching, again, whether it's for making friends or getting dates, they're either just crazy people that don't understand the implications of their actions, they don't understand that there's like some weirdness to what they're doing, or there's pickup guys that don't give a fuck and they're just walking out and using game with people and bullshit manipulative nonsense. And so that's the experience for most women. If some like genuinely good guy with good intentions comes along and he's like, hey, I think you're really pretty, like, I don't want to make you uncomfortable, but I'd love to get to know you, let's get a drink sometime, let's find out who we are and see if we're compatible, and she's single and she's looking for someone to date, amazing. That's like, oh my god, this is so romantic, what a wonderful thing this person has come and done.
Totally. And the thing is, like, I think many of my friends, they learn to be indirect. Like they want to be friends first, and then like they build the courage after 3 months, and then it makes it just so weird because you're my friend, and I never knew your intentions about dating me. And
let's talk about the friend zone for a second, because it's such a bullshit concept. Like, if you're in the friend zone, you have either not been forward enough, or you've not fulfilled your responsibility as a man, or you have done that and then she's gone, let's just be friends, and you're genuinely working. Like, I have some friends at the moment, there are people that I've dated in the past and the relationship just didn't work out and we ended up becoming friends, and there's some really great friendships there, because like the care translates from this sexual romantic thing into a genuine care about another human being, and you can make great friendships that way. But this idea that it's like you can't be direct with people, there's this idea that women are innocent and you can't just tell them what they want, and they're not as sexual as men. Like, women are more sexual than men, they just have less of a need for it. Like, men are more sexual in the respect that they need it more for their own like self-estimation. Like, you have more of a biological urge to fuck, right? But women enjoy sex way more, and they gain more pleasure from it, and they're generally more sexual. They're just A, more selective, and B, they need it less. Like, a woman can go most women that I know, and I've talked to people about this, most women that I know can go a month or two without sex and not really feel like there's any problem. And that is also because they have options and things, and the whole dynamic is different. But as a man, it's like we're scared to. A lot of men are scared to put their intentions forward, and they're scared to say what they actually want, and so they rationalize and they come up with bullshit puritanical excuses like, oh, you could never just. Women are too fragile and delicate to possibly say dirty things to, and all of this, and it's bullshit. It's nonsense. It's a complete fabrication. The intent and the energy is what's important, and what ends up happening is they're too afraid to put themselves forward, and they're too afraid to ask for what they want. So what happens is they're like, oh well, I'll just become a friend first, and a lot of the time it comes from lack of self-worth as well, because they're like, oh well, I could never possibly just ask her out, she wouldn't love me, so what I'll do instead is I'll manipulate her and become her friend, and like, you know, act in a certain way for a couple of years and hope that at some point she sees my value and all of the, and it's a bullshit thing. If you're in the friend zone, it's either because you're being a fucking pussy and you've never expressed interest, or it's because it's if you're doing it the healthy way, it's because you've done that and it hasn't worked out, or she's rejected you or some way, and you're her friend because you genuinely want to be her friend. If you're in the friend zone that you don't want to be, that's your fucking problem. You shouldn't be blaming anybody else for that. And honestly, it's a really horrible thing to do as well, because quite often what happens is they'll be friends for 3 or 4 years or whatever, and then finally they'll express interest and they'll tell the girl that they're into them. And then the whole facade drops and she realizes that she's been used this entire time, because it's like, this guy wasn't actually my friend. He just wanted to fuck me. And so it ruins the entire friendship, because she's like, what the fuck? Like, why weren't you just honest with me? And it becomes this like disrespect. Like, imagine you had a male friend.
Well.
Imagine as a man, you have a male friend, right? And this guy is like nice to you all the time, and you're thinking like, I have this wonderful, great friend, and I feel safe around him. And then one day he's like, yeah, I really want to put it in your ass. Like I've wanted that the whole time. I really just want to pin you down and fuck you, and that's all I've been thinking about this entire time. How horrifying is that, you know? And that's not even like a homophobic thing. Like I've had sex with guys. I'm not afraid to say that, but it's like the whole idea of what this dynamic was with this other person is completely gone now, and you'll feel betrayed. Like imagine that, and you're a woman, and you felt like safe around this guy. It's horrible. It's horrible. It's not fair. You shouldn't be doing that. And so I always say to people, like, just be as direct as possible, as upfront as possible. If you find her attractive, tell her you find her attractive. You want to get to know her, tell her you want to get to know her. If it doesn't work, fine. Plenty of fish in the sea. There's always going to be compatible people out there. And the only thing that's actually stopping you from getting what you want is your own internal bullshit telling you that you can't. Anything that you think is a reason as to why women aren't attracted to you is bullshit. Like, oh, I don't look good enough, I don't have enough money. Do these things help? Abso-fucking-lutely. Of course they do. If you're like this rich guy with a 7-inch cock and a lot of big muscles that drives a Ferrari and has like an amazing business and is like super socially confident, of course it's going to be easier for you. But there is no one I have ever met who is incapable of actually getting what they want if they just try. Because there's always going to be people that are on that say, like, I think we had a conversation about this before. It's like, I've had clients before that they're like, oh, like they're this like nerdy, slightly autistic programmer dude, and they're like, yeah, I want the girl that goes out to clubs and this. It's like, do you actually want that, or are you just jealous of those people and you want what it represents? Because what's probably best for you is one of two things: either you change your entire personality and you become a different person and you start working on yourself to the point where those are the kind of women that you attract, or even like you're into self-improvement, so you find some also nerdy, reserved girl that wants to work on herself, and you build this beautiful relationship that blossoms into this thing, and you work on it together. I think what you actually want is just the way that person looks, because you're like physically minded. And he's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's like, do you actually want that, or do you want what that represents? Because you can take the best bits of what that represents and find it. Like, as a guy, if you want to find an attractive woman, you can, but that's really not all that matters. And it is like this thing that we care about more, of course, but it's just because she's attractive, A, doesn't mean that she's compatible with you, and B, doesn't mean that she cares how you look. Like, obviously be presentable and take care of your appearance, but if like whatever genetic features you have, it really doesn't fucking matter. And you see this especially in Eastern Europe, like the disparity in the West and the East, in terms of like Europe and America and stuff, in the way that the men look and the way that the women look and how homogenous they are. Like, men, maybe not in the UK, but in the US, I've kind of noticed that the men and women, they look a bit closer together. Like, the men look a bit more feminine, well put together. You come to Eastern Europe, a lot of the men are like bald and grizzled, and like their faces are all fucked up, and they walk around with because Eastern European women are very attractive, and so they're walking around with beautiful women. The way that you look doesn't fucking matter. It's all in your head. It's all in your head. It's the way that you make a person feel. Are there women that care about how you look and how much money you have? Absolutely. Don't go for those women. You can have what you want. You can have the things that you want from a relationship. You just need to try. And it frustrates me because it's all just excuses. It's a fear of fucking what it really is. All of these things that we tell ourselves, and all of these things that we're like, oh, it wouldn't work for this reason, it wouldn't work for X reason. We make up these excuses because we're scared. We're scared to take action. You don't believe that you can get what you want because it justifies your lack of actually trying. And that's all it really is. And 90% of what I do with clients when I take them out is just removing those bullshit ideas and those bullshit fears. The actual actions themselves are easy. It's the overcoming the fear that's hard. But once you do, you realize that it's all, the whole facade drops and you're like, oh, I can get whatever I want and do whatever I want if I just ask for it and I believe that I'm worthy of it.
This makes so much sense. If you just try, be direct, and be unapologetically yourself, you're getting so far in the dating scene. It's so easy then.
And you've had this exact experience. I've had this exact experience. We've both gone from people that are like, I used to look at myself in the mirror and be like, you're unattractive and you're fucked up. And I believed all of this negative shit about myself. Was it true? At the time, yes, because I believed it. You know, it's all in your. This is something I've said a few times on this stream, I guess, but it's all in your head. It's all in your head. Everything. It's all in your head. I think it's Henry Ford that said this. Whether you believe you can or you believe that you can't, whether you believe you can or you believe that you can't, you are right.
Yes, and what I sometimes notice, like when I'm not doing good as far as dating goes, like it's hard to find dates, and then I just ask myself, and then be honest, like how many approaches did you do in the last week? And it's maybe like one or two. It's a direct reflection on if you actually try and be direct.
Yeah, and most guys are like, oh, you know, I tried with this girl in high school when I was socially inept and couldn't really ask for what I want. And I did it from a very like insecure, weird place. And so, of course, she rejected me. And then I've spent the rest of my life either on Tinder or going to clubs, getting drunk and having random hookups that turn into bad 6 months to 2 year relationships. It must mean that I'm just undeserving of love and that no women will want me.
Yeah, that is the story of so many guys.
It's everybody. It's just a lack of action. It's a lack of action. If you try to get the things that you want, then you'll get them. And I've had guys say to me, well, it's easy for you to say because you're handsome or whatever. It's like I have had clients. And I've seen this happen where it's like some fat, unattractive guy with a missing tooth that ends up with some fucking model. And you ask the model, you're like, what do you like in this guy? And he's like, well, he's honest with me. And honestly, like the fact that he's big, he reminds me of my father, which makes me feel safe. There you go. Like it's not up to you. Like it's not up to you what other people find attractive in you. So stop worrying about it and just start going for what you want. And eventually you will find someone that will give it to you. You can ask for whatever you want in your life. You ask enough times, eventually someone's going to give it to you.
That's exactly the truth.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes these boot camps, when I was like in Varna or in Sofia, I just couldn't believe. But the reason was simple. Like I just put so much volume in. And the more you put out, the more you get back. And it's just so simple if you think about it, but your mind makes it so difficult. And like then when you're in the street by yourself and you want to do some approaches and the ego comes up and then you just don't take any action and you make it bigger than it actually is.
You feel afraid because you don't want the negative consequence, and so then your ego comes up with some excuse to excuse your inaction. And you go, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so you don't do anything. And so you don't get the results that you want. To anybody that's watching this, if you don't believe me, go into discord.gg/self-improvement. There's a channel in there called Reviews. And there's just a list of like videos and posts and previous clients that have gone out with me in person and experienced the things that I'm talking about. They all came in with mindsets of like, oh, I don't know if this would work, but I'm just, you know, I have faith or whatever. And at the end of the day, they're always like, oh my God, I can actually have, like, I'm amazed that people responded to me so well and they treated me so nicely and the girls are actually interested. I got like 4 phone numbers today and it's just because they tried. It's just because they actually went out and tried and they got over their fear and they did the thing that they wanted and they got the results that they wanted. And I've said this a few times. I have never, not a single time, had anybody follow my advice and not get the results that I tell them to expect. Not a single time. Every single time someone follows my advice and actually follows it and doesn't just make up excuses or try like, you know, half-ass it. Every time someone has actually committed to following the program and doing the things that I tell them to do, they have always got the results that I tell them to expect. Every single time. Because it's just a law of nature. It's just how things work.
And I can affirm this because I remember back in Varna, my review was how I got the number of Miss Bulgaria in front of her father. And I didn't barely do any approaches prior to
Anton
this.
ended up hooking up with fucking Miss Bulgaria at the or one of them at the time. I don't know. And I dated a runner-up for Miss Thailand when I was in Thailand. But let me go to the reviews channel. Like here's let me find here's a guy from London. Last night went on the 4th date with what I would consider a 10 out of 10 girl with a great personality who is trustworthy, a nice person, and laughs at all of my shit jokes. I can tell you as an average looking man, it is possible to punch into the high leagues if you work on it. Thanks Coach Ben for helping me get what I need to be a better person / man. Here's a guy from Kiev. I'm so fucking appreciative for the coaching call and paying Ben to meet me in Kiev. I'm crying. I'm so fucking happy after my experience today. Caring about rejection stopped because I forgot how many numbers and Instagrams I got, and then I had the problem of how to manage that, which is the problem you've faced as well, Anton. It's like at some point you're like, I have too many people interested in me. Honestly, the live training is worth double my investment. So this is someone that spends like 10 to 15 grand a year on self-improvement. Honestly, the live training is worth double my investment. I spend loads yearly on self-improvement, and this was by far my #1 investment. Better than Unleash the Power Within by Tony Robbins. Mic drop. Yeah. All right. So if you're interested in getting coaching, I have different tiers. You can go to discord.gg/self-improvement, or you can find me at The Real Ben Campbell. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Discord, I'm on a couple other places, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, even though I don't use Twitter. You can DM me and I offer a free one-on-one coaching call to people so we can talk about these things and create a personalized like a program for you to go through to fix your own individual results. If they're social or dating related, I guarantee I can get you results. There are different tiers. There's some free posts that I put out there. There's some that are related to approaching. There's some that are related to like working on your productivity and getting over like so the free posts. Why you should make approaches, how to make a good approach, maintaining discipline, how to beat procrastination, changing your habits, the problem with modern men. I have a bunch of free stuff in there for people. If you want to sign up for membership, there's different tiers. For as little as $10 a month, you can go into the forums and you can read all of the posts on all the social matters, all the dating matters, all the productivity things that I talk about in there. You can become a member for $25 a month and you can go in and essentially participate, and you get access to a private members channel. There's also perks. I'm about to start releasing videos on different social media platforms, and all the extras and things that I can't fit into those, I'll give to members within the server. And then for $100 a month, and this will go up with time because I this might seem arrogant, I'm worth a lot more than that. For $100 a month, you get into the weekly coaching calls with myself and Anton and a couple other people. So once a week on Sunday, about an hour after the stream goes live, there's a coaching call where it's a private thing. You get your own private progress thread so you can start tracking your results, and I'll give you hands-on direct advice on getting you towards your goals. And you also get once a month on your schedule, you get one-on-one call to really make sure that you're getting where you're going. It's like a hand-holdy, let's take you from A to B and get you what you want. If you want to do the boot camp, you can reach out to me. That's a fuck of a lot more expensive because it's a 2-day thing, and I'll fly to your nearest city and do that with you. But I have never had a single person pay and not say that it was worth it. So the company that I own now and the company that I worked with previously has been in business for like 20 years or something like that. And the amount of refunds that we've given for the course is half of one. And that's because the guy came and he said, I can't do this. And I'm sorry, I need to go home. I can't go over this. I can't do it. And so we said, okay, so take your money back. And he said, no, I don't want to because I believe that it's worth it. Like I've paid for the thing, it's fine. So we forced him to take half of a refund. So in all the years of business, for everybody that's paid for this, we've given half of a refund because everybody sees results. Never had a single person go through the program and not be like, that was fucking life-changing, right? You can have anything you want from your social situations, from your dating life, all of it, if you just apply and try. And we have the knowledge. So to reach out, if you're someone that's sitting there and you're going, oh, I wish I could make more friends, or I wish I could get a girlfriend, I don't feel like I'm worthy, and I just have these fears and all this stuff, reach out. We'll fucking help you. And unless there's anything else, I think that's a good place to wrap up. Oh, on Wednesday on YouTube, there's going to be a video coming out called "The Problem with Pickup," and I am on YouTube. I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube, you already know, but if you're on Rumble, it's youtube.com/@therealbencampbell, and there will be a video coming out on Wednesday called "The Problem with Pickup," which basically dissects it's the most common ideology in dating, and it's one that leads people astray and fucks with them and caters to this fearful, insecure mindset and just results in bad. It will get you results, but it will result in bad results. And so I'm putting out a 20-minute video on Wednesday dissecting the psychology behind it and why it exists and why it gets the results that it does. So Anton, unless you have anything else to say, I think I'm going to wrap up here.
I'm out of words.
All right. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. This stream happens every week at 5 p.m. local to Sofia, whatever time that is. And it's annoying sometimes because there is a week where daylight savings in other countries doesn't line up with how it is in Eastern Europe. And so it'll be 5 o'clock and then it'll be 6 o'clock or 4 o'clock and then it'll be back to 5 o'clock like a week later, but whatever. It's always 5 p.m. local to Sofia. You can tune in on YouTube and Rumble. If you want to ask questions, again, it's discord.gg/self. I mean, you can leave like a super chat or whatever on YouTube or Rumble. I don't tend to look at the chats because there's not that much engagement, but if there is, if I see your question, that's fine. But you can go to discord.gg/self-improvement. There's a channel in there called submissions, and you can submit a text question or you can apply to call into the show so we can answer